Over the last 2 weeks I've been rebuilding this TR4 engine, and yesterday when it was ready I couldn't wait to turn the key and hear its voice. But for my surprise it didn't start, and it didn't even want to hiccup. So right away I realized that I made a mistake with the timing, because on the gears there was no any marks or anything, so it was more a matter of guessing than precise work. So I decided that I'm gonna strip the front of the engine again, and I'm gonna do the timing of the camshaft the proper way with the degree wheel and piston stop. For this reason, of course, I need the piston stop and the degree wheel, but both of these tools I didn't have, so I decided to do them myself instead of going around and spending time and money to get them. For the piston stop, since my head was already installed on the engine, I had to go through the hole for the spark plug, and I needed an adapter. Well, it's very easy to make one, just using the metal part of an old spark plug. So I took this old spark plug, I broke the porcelain, I removed everything from inside, and then I tapped 3/8 by 16 thread inside. I cleaned it very well with part cleaner, so there are no any shavings inside, and I took a matching bolt with the same thread. I rounded the tip of the bolt so it doesn't hurt the piston, because we're gonna use that piston stop, as we said. And this tool is ready. For the degree wheel attachment, I decided to use the old gear from the crankshaft, because it already had the keyway, so it was easy to attach it to the crankshaft. And I only welded this piece of tube there, so I can attach the degree wheel to it. At its end, I also welded this old half-inch socket, so I can use a ratchet to turn the engine. The actual degree wheel was the easiest part. I just went and googled images of printable degree wheels, and millions turned up. So I printed out the one that I thought it was gonna fit best a letter size paper, and I just glued it to a piece of mahogany plywood and cut it out. Next step was to cut the hole in the middle. The tube that I welded to the gear was 1 inch in diameter, so I had to make a 1 inch opening on the wheel. And the last part that I needed was some kind of a bushing that was gonna slide over the tube and lock the wheel in place. So I found this plastic nut with proper size opening, and the first thing I did was to drill the hole for the set screw that was gonna lock it to the tube, because once I mounted to the wheel I wasn't gonna be able to drill this hole anymore, because the chuck on the drill was gonna be on my way. And so far so good. I just needed a couple of screws to hold this nut to the wheel, and I was ready to go and mount everything on the car. I put the woodruff key in the keyway and slipped the gear on the crankshaft, and everything fit like a glove. As a pointer, I used a piece of wire bolted to one of the holes for the cam cover, and then it was time to find the top dead center and lock the wheel accordingly. And so now we are roughly to top dead center according to the keying and the crankshaft. But now we're going to find our true top dead center. So to do that, I'm going to go just a little bit past where I think the top dead center is. So I'm going to go like, let's say 20 something degrees past it. And now I'm going to put my adapter here. Adapter with bolts that I made on the first cylinder. Doesn't need to be super tight. And now I'm gonna run the bolt in it, and I'm gonna try to reach the piston. I think I'm there. So I'm gonna try to reverse the crank now and see. Yeah, it doesn't want to go anymore. So I take note of this position now. It is 21.5 bottom dead center. Anyways, I put the wheel upside down. I'm gonna fix it later. So at this point the wheel was at 21.5 after top dead center. So I turned it around. I went through bottom dead center to the other side of the top dead center, and I wanted to take a note to see where was it gonna stop. So it stopped at 33 before top dead center. So because I put the wheel upside down, it was with the bottom dead center up, but this doesn't really matter. So the first time it stopped at 21.5 after bottom dead center. Then I turned the wheel around all the way, and it stopped right here at 33. So I knew that my true top dead center is between these two marks, 33 and 21.5 on the other side of the bottom dead center. So I added 21.5 to 33, that equals 54.5. Divide that by 2 is 27.25, but we can't be so precise, so I'm gonna just round it to 27. So my true top dead center is 27 degrees to the left of the point that I am now, which is 33 minus 27 is 6. So my true top dead center is at 6 degrees before bottom dead center mark on the wheel. So all I had to do was to remove the piston stop, of course, and after that turn the wheel until it reaches the point of 6 degrees, right here. So this is my true top dead center of the crankshaft, but not of the wheel, of course. So what I had to do was to loosen the wheel from the crankshaft without touching the crankshaft anymore, turn only the wheel around, and position the zero mark of the top dead center at the point. Tighten the wheel again to the crankshaft, and now we know that the wheel is matching the crankshaft. And now that we found the top dead center of the crankshaft, we're going to look in the manual to find what is the relevance between the camshaft and the crankshaft. So in this diagram here, we're going to see when both valves start to open and when they close. The degrees here in this diagram are degrees of rotation of the crankshaft, not of the camshaft. So let me explain that in details. The intake valve, this is the direction of the rotation, so the intake valve starts to open 17 degrees before the top dead center of the crankshaft of the exhaust stroke, and it goes in this direction. Somewhere here it is fully open, and when the crankshaft reaches 57 degrees after bottom dead center, the intake valve is fully closed. The exhaust valve starts to open 57 degrees before the bottom dead center of the crankshaft. Somewhere here it is fully open, and when the crankshaft reaches 17 degrees after top dead center, it is fully closed. But there's this area here, and between 17 degrees before top dead center and 17 degrees after top dead center, in which both valves are a little bit open. The intake just started to open, and it's a little bit open here, and the exhaust is almost closed, but it still has some opening in it. So the manual calls for this method where we find this position when the two valves are equally open and center this position of the camshaft with the top dead center of the crankshaft. Okay, but this method for me it's not very precise because it involves measuring of gaps with filler gauges, and I don't like this because it's very easy to make a mistake with couple of thousandths of an inch. So I'm gonna go with another method which is explained in this video of the Eric the Car Guy. Very nice video, thank you so much for that, it's really useful. So I'm gonna go for this method in which we need to find the peak of the intake valve of the first cylinder. The peak means when it is fully open. So it starts to open here, 17 degrees before the top dead center of the crankshaft. Somewhere here it is fully open, and then it starts closing, and 57 degrees after bottom dead center it's fully closed. So we need to find this position here. We need to find how many degrees after top dead center of the crankshaft the intake valve of the first cylinder must be at its peak. So this is very easy to calculate because we have all the numbers here. So first of all we have to find out how many degrees we have between the point where it starts to open and the point where it's fully closed. So this is 17 to top dead center, then from top dead center to the bottom dead center another 180, and then 57 more until it is fully closed. So that's 17 plus 180 plus 57, that's 254, right? Yeah, divide that by 2 and we have 127 degrees. We can even find this number here. It says inlet and exhaust cam period 127 degrees, which means that 127 degrees after the valve starts to open here, 127 degrees later it's going to be fully open, that's its peak, and then 127 more degrees and it's going to be fully closed. So is 127 degrees after top dead center our number? No, because the intake valve started to open 17 degrees before top dead center. So we have to subtract these 17 degrees from the 127, and that equals 110 degrees after top dead center of the crankshaft is the position where the camshaft needs to lift the intake valve of the first cylinder to its peak. So all we have to do is to find this position of the cam, keep it there, then we turn the crankshaft to 110 after top dead center and install the chain. And then our camshaft will be degreed. So I installed the dial gauge on top of the rocker of the intake valve of the first cylinder. That was the only way since my head was already installed. But I also had to get rid of the gap between the rocker and the stem of the valve on the other side, because that was gonna give me wrong information. You see how it plays. For this reason I have to be at top dead center of the compression stroke. Where both my valves are going to be closed, fully closed. Okay. So here I'm going to adjust the gap. So now I don't have any gap on the rockers, even when the valves are fully closed. So I set up the dial gauge here on the intake of the first cylinder, and now we're going to try to find the center of the lobe of the intake valve of the first cylinder. Now I already came here where it is all the way open. It cannot go any it cannot open anymore because it goes to here and then it starts going down. You see, so this is my point where it is fully open. So I'm gonna zero it here, and this is approximate center of the lobe here, because the valve stays fully open for maybe 3, 4 or 5 degrees because it reaches the point and starts going down, but for a couple of degrees it stays open. So I don't know which one of these couple of degrees is my situation now. So to find the true center of the lobe, we're gonna go down with the valve for 50 thousandths of an inch in both directions, and we're gonna take note of the position of the crankshaft, and then we're gonna find the center point between these 2 points where my valve was 50 thousandths before it was fully open and 50 thousandths after it was fully open. The center point between these 2 points is going to be my true center of the lobe. So first I'm going to go down in the counterclockwise direction. I'm going to go past 50 and then I'm going to reach it by coming clockwise, because otherwise the slack of the chain is going to give me an error. This way there's no slack. So I'm going to reach 50 now. Right there. So I am at 95. So now I'm gonna go in the clockwise direction. Come on, I passed it again. Okay, 50. So here we are at 8. Right? That's 8. 95 was the other direction. So 95 minus 8 equals 87. 87 divided by 2 is 43 and a half. 43 and a half to the right of here is 43 plus 8, 51 and a half. So 51 and a half is my true center of the lobe of the first cylinder, of the intake of the first cylinder. 51 and a half, and that's showing me the same there, but my center of the lobe needs to be here at 110. So my engine is retarded by 10, 19 degrees. Wow, how did that happen? 19 degrees. Anyways, now you can see how inaccurate is the method with the marks. I'm not even sure what I did there, and I don't even understand what happened. But anyways, now we're gonna do it the proper way. So my camshaft is now at the center of the lobe of the first of the intake of the first cylinder. So I'm gonna keep it there. I'm gonna try not to move it, and I'm gonna remove the chain. I'm gonna turn the crankshaft to 110 degree, and then I'm gonna put the chain back. That's it. Here is the time to talk a little bit about the 4 holes on the timing gear for the camshaft. This is specifically for this engine, for TR2, TR3, TR4 and TR4A. These 4 holes are actually 2 sets of holes for the screws that hold the gear to the camshaft. And these 2 sets are not at 90 degree one from the other, they are at 92 maybe, something like that. So when you put your chain, if your gear doesn't fit perfectly there, don't turn any of the shafts, the crank or the cam. just turn the gear by 90 degree, which is not 90, which is going to be 92, let's say, and this gives you a quarter of a tooth adjustment. If you're still not satisfied, if you still need to move anything, then turn the gear with the back part to the front, and then you're gonna be at half a tooth difference than your original position. If this is still not good, then you can turn it 90 more degrees, and that's gonna give you a 3/4 of a tooth adjustment. So for sure one of these four situations is gonna switch your positions of the crankshaft and of the camshaft. So try all of these positions and don't turn your crank or your camshaft. You already set them in the proper position that they need to be. I have to turn the gear by 90 degrees to fine tune it. And now it fits perfectly. Not really. Okay, so I have to turn it. I have to turn the other side. It doesn't fit again, so I'm gonna turn it again by 90 degrees. And finally it fits. Okay, and let's do that again now to test it. So we go 50 clockwise. That's 90, 100, 110, 120, 130, 140, 148. And if we go the other direction, we go a little bit fast, and then we come back. We are at 61. 148 minus 61 is 87. 87 divided by 2 is 43 and a half. 43 and a half to the left of here is 104 and a half, right? There. But we wanted 110, so again I didn't position the cam properly. So just because I didn't remove the slug from the chain when I was turning the crankshaft before, I have an error of 5.5 degrees now. So you see how important is that and how precise job is that. So always you have to approach your point in the clockwise direction so there's no slack on the chain. So in this position now, because I approached the point of the camshaft in the clockwise direction, I knew that the cam was in the right position, so I just had to turn the crank to the 110 point and put the chain again. Of course now the gear didn't fit the hose again, so I had to do the whole exercise with turning it to 90 degree, backside to the front, and finally I put it in the right position. Okay, and let's do that again now. One more time. So we go in this direction. Oh, I went past. And stop there. So we are at 120, 130, 140, 150, 154. Now I'm gonna go counterclockwise. Again, I'm gonna go past 50, and I'm gonna come to it clockwise. Right there. So here we are at 66 or 67. Okay, 67. Again, let's do the math. 154 minus 67 equals 87. 87 divided by 2 is 43 and a half. And 43 and a half plus 67 equals 110 and 110 and a half. We can't be any closer than that. I am happy with that. So this is how we're gonna leave it, and now we can say that we degreed our camshaft. Phew! I didn't forget to readjust the gap on the valves on the first cylinder, because you remember I got rid of the gap, and since I had the degree wheel on the crankshaft, I used that moment to adjust also the ignition. It was a good opportunity to do that. And then I started the engine. So thanks for watching, and thanks a lot to Eric the car guy, whose video I already mentioned. Thanks also to Most Motors, because they have a beautiful series of videos about timing an engine. Thanks also to a YouTuber named Shevaholic, I hope I pronounced that right. He explains in his video how to do the adapter for the spark plug piston stop. And thanks a lot to the Macy's Garage also, because their website is full of useful information. I'm gonna put links to all these in the description below. Oh, and if you wanna stay in touch, you can find me on Facebook. My page is called Rusty Beauties, and you can find the link in the channel art of my YouTube channel. So I'll see you in my next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.